The city of Lagos never sleeps. It thrives in a chaotic dance of wealth and struggle, ambition and betrayal. For Victor Adedayo, life had once been simple. He was the son of a powerful businessman, raised in luxury, shielded from the cruelty of the streets. But fate had other plans. Victor was just 12 when his world collapsed. His father, Samuel Adedayo, was not just any businessman. He was a king in the Lagos real estate industry. He owned multiple estates, shopping complexes, and a thriving transportation company. His name alone carried weight in the financial sector. To Victor, his father was a hero, a man who taught him the value of legacy, integrity, and ambition. Until one evening, Samuel came home coughing violently, his face pale and his body weak. The sickness took over so fast that within 3 weeks he was gone. Victor had never seen his mother, Margaret Adedayo, cry like she did at the funeral. She clung to her husband's coffin as if letting go would mean losing everything. She wasn't wrong. At the funeral, Chief Richard Adedayo, Samuel's younger brother, stood at the front, speaking in a voice full of sorrow. "My brother was a great man, a true visionary," he said, shaking his head dramatically. "But we must be strong, especially for young Victor." Victor did not trust his uncle. He had seen the way his father used to look at Richard, like a man watching a snake he couldn't kill. Richard had always been in Samuel's shadow, envious of his success. And now, the moment had arrived for him to strike. Margaret barely had time to recover from the grief before men arrived at their estate, carrying legal documents. "Your husband left all his assets in Chief Richard Adedayo's name," the lawyer announced coldly. Margaret's eyes widened. "That's impossible. My husband would never—" Richard stepped forward, his face filled with feigned sympathy. "Margaret, my dear sister-in-law," he sighed, shaking his head. "I wish things were different, but your husband trusted me to handle everything. The business world is ruthless. You wouldn't understand." Victor clenched his fists. "You're lying." Richard crouched in front of him, his voice lowering to a whisper. "This world is for the strong, boy. Your father made a mistake trusting me." And just like that, the empire Samuel built was stolen. Within weeks, the transformation was complete. Margaret and Victor were thrown out of their family mansion, forced onto the streets like beggars. Friends turned their backs on them, afraid of Richard's influence. Margaret tried to find work, but no one would hire her. Victor, once a top student in one of Lagos' most prestigious schools, could no longer afford education. At first, he tried working menial jobs, washing cars, carrying bags at the market, but it was never enough. Hunger gnawed at their bellies, and their bodies grew weak. It was during one of those long, desperate nights that Victor met Ben. The shadow of the streets, Ben had been surviving on the streets since he was 8. Now 18, he had learned to navigate the cruel underworld of Lagos. He found Victor curled up in an alleyway one night, too weak to move. Without a word, Ben handed him a loaf of bread. "Eat," he said simply. Victor hesitated, but hunger won. From that night on, Ben took him under his wing. He taught Victor how to survive, how to pick pockets, how to blend into the shadows. But Victor refused to steal, until the night his mother was attacked. A group of thugs cornered Margaret in the market, stealing what little she had left. They beat her so badly that Victor could barely recognize her swollen face. That was the night something inside him snapped. He went to Ben with only one request: "Teach me everything." For 2 years, Victor trained under Ben's gang, the Black Fangs. He learned how to fight, how to intimidate, how to make people fear him. But Victor was different. He wasn't just another street thug. He had a purpose. While the gang focused on petty crime, Victor had a bigger plan, taking back everything that was stolen from him. Victor waited for the perfect moment. Richard had grown arrogant in his wealth, his security becoming lax. One night, Victor and Ben infiltrated Richard's mansion. The house Victor once called home was now filled with Richard's luxuries. The very air smelled of betrayal. Richard was asleep when Victor entered his room, standing over the man who had stolen his father's empire. Victor didn't hesitate. The knife plunged deep into Richard's chest. His eyes shot open, filled with horror. He gasped, reaching for Victor, but it was too late. "This is for my father," Victor whispered. By the time the house staff discovered Richard's body, Victor was already gone. With Richard dead, Victor made his next move. He forged documents showing that Richard had legally transferred everything back to him before his death. Using a combination of bribes, blackmail, and smart business tactics, he reclaimed the empire. Within a year, Victor Adedayo became a feared name in Lagos. He was not just a businessman, he was a king. He rebuilt his father's businesses, restored his mother's honor, and ensured no one could ever take anything from him again. But power comes with a price. For 5 years, Victor thrived. Under his leadership, his father's company became even bigger, expanding into international markets. He was respected, feared, untouchable, but secrets never stay buried. One evening, Victor was in his office when his secretary rushed in. "Sir, the police are here." Victor's stomach turned to ice. 2 detectives entered. One of them placed a thick file on the table. "Mr. Adedayo," the detective said, his voice calm but firm. "We have new evidence in the murder of Chief Richard Adedayo." Victor leaned back, keeping his face neutral. "Murder? My uncle died of a heart attack." The older detective exhaled. "We have a witness." A name slipped from the detective's lips. Ben. Victor found Ben that night. "You betrayed me?" Victor's voice was dangerously low. Ben sighed. "The streets turned on me, Victor. The police made me an offer. Witness protection in exchange for your name." Victor clenched his jaw. "I made you." Ben met his eyes. "And I destroyed you." The next morning, Victor was arrested in front of his empire. The headlines exploded. "Business tycoon Victor Adedayo arrested for murder." As the prison gates shut behind him, Victor finally understood the cruel truth. He had won, and he had lost everything. The price of revenge. Was it worth it? Was justice truly served? Or had Victor become the very monster he once hated? Let me know in the comments.